get it correctly, and especially in designing the experiment. Kindly switch on your camera first. Mag-screenshot lang anay. Yan ako kuha yung attendance pag na-screenshot kita. Okay. And then before I end the discussion, mag-screenshot na naman kita. Ay ha, kadali lang. Okay, you may switch off your camera now. Okay. Have you received already your modules?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Wala pa na
Yes,
akin,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Wala pa
Yes,
na, ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Nag-scan,
Waray
nakamontate
pa, ma'am.
yung topics. Ano yung answeran? Dapat kunta at least nag-scan kunta, nagsulod. Knowing that we are going to have an online class now, so that if there are some clarifications, you can ask me. Although there are already some students who opened the file in the Google Classroom, and so they're able to ask questions, clarifications about some topics. Okay. Ugaring ani boray ko pa ka-reply, an iba na replyan ko na, no? Okay, let us not waste time. May kula na hihatag nga something like mga experiments of our real scientists. You are going to read something, maikli lang ito. This is for you to be able to come up with some designs, ideas on how to design an experiment, to be able to prove questions that are asked about a certain problem, or it could be your own questions in mind about phenomenon, about nature, or about any phenomena that you observe, so that kung magti-test ka mo, you guess, you hypothesis, you may follow this procedure. So I will share to you first, pinaka-intro tain, mabasa ka mo. I hope basahin nyo ito, share muna ako. Do you know what spontaneous generation is? What's an idea on what spontaneous generation is? Okay, kung walang ideya, pakibasa na lang muna itong first paragraph. Read it silently. First paragraph only. Okay, done with the first paragraph.
Yes po.
Yes po, ma'am.
Yes
Di pa
po.
po.
Yes po.
So,
Yes
who
po,
will
ma'am.
answer the question about what spontaneous generation is in one sentence? Based from what you've read. Marian. Marian Dulfo. Kahit hindi i-on yung camera, kahit yung microphone lang. Sige nga, ano ang spontaneous generation? Binuhat siguro yung Marian, ano? Bang nainom si Marian. Punta tayo kay Denise. Denise, when we
Yes,
say
ma'am.
spontaneous generation, what does it mean?
Spontaneous generation is the incorrect hypothesis that non-living things are capable of producing life.
Okay. Do you believe that life comes from non-living things? That's spontaneous
No.
generation. Alexi, Emmanuel. Alexi, ikaduha di kasit up list. Yung una si Alexi. Naniniwala ka
What
ba,
was
Alexi, sa spontaneous generation? Do you
No.
believe in this spontaneous generation theory that
No.
living things come from non-living things? Okay, according to Alexi, no. Okay, let's call on Alison May. Do you believe in spontaneous generation?
No.
Okay, and one last. May I call on Anna Gia?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Now, of course, nobody would believe, ngayon, nobody would believe that living things come from non-living things. But before, many, many years ago, many believed, even scientists believed, that living things come from non-living things. No? For example, yung mais daw nagpo-produce ng mice. Well, that is logical. May reason dyan because mostly yung mice na nakikita nila galing sa corn, pinag-iimbaka ng corn. So they're able to come up with a conclusion that corn produces mice. Again, that's logical with reason, ano? But I'm not saying that it's correct. Okay? Another one, flies from bovine manure. Mga langaw ko no tikang mga ano ini, mga hugaw, mga feces or manure, mga bovine. And then yung meat, nagpo-produce ng maggots. Maggots, these are the worm-like structures that the structures that become flies, ano? And then dry lakes or the mud produces fish. See, these were the belief before because of what they observed. Meaning, yung kanilang paniniwala base sa kanilang nakikita. Ano? So that's how they came up with this belief. Okay? But because of these scientists who were willing to who were determined to know kung saan ba talaga galing ang mga living things, this theory on spontaneous generation was discarded. No, wara na hitian haiyan na tuod nga life come from non-living things pa. Well, may da pagangayan, parut may da nasiring na bati akdanay. Ay pag pinaadlawon kay pagkukutuon ka. Ano daw lang niya kaniring tikang diin ang kuto. Pag nagpaadlaw kukutuon, another, don't use this shampoo kay pagkukutuon ka. Bakit yung shampoo nakakapakuto ba? So you see, though there are no explanations of these statements that of these people who are saying those things, but sa isang ano mo lang, kung iisipin mo, parang sinasabi na, tikang haadlaw ang kuto, tikang hapasuan kuto, tikang hasyampuan kuto. Okay, maybe kailangan lang ng mga explanation sa kanila, so that they won't keep on believing about these non-living things produce living things. Okay, here's one experiment of Francesco Redi. Others pronounce this as Redi or Redi. But in Italy, it's Francesco Redi. He is an Italian scientist who designed an experiment to test the spontaneous creation of maggots by placing fresh meat in each of 2 different jars. One jar was left open, the other was covered with a cloth. Days later, the open jar contained maggots, whereas the covered jar contained no maggots. He did note that maggots were found on the exterior surface of the cloth that covered the jar. Redi successfully demonstrated that the maggots came from fly eggs and thereby helped to disprove spontaneous generation, or so he thought. That's what he thought pala, So na-disprove an iya, ginuhuna-hunaan. Ito yung experiment niya. Ito yun. Okay. He wanted to prove that itong meat magproproduce ng maggots. So he did several setups, Yung isang setup, open yung jar. Mag-annotate ha para kitaan niyo. Okay. One is open, one set is open. Ito muna. And then the other one covered, but air was able to get through it. Kay cloth man hiya. And then adi naman hiya sealed, And then after the experimentation, look what happened. Yung open jar, maraming maggots. At yung fly, of course, nakakapasok. Yung fly kasi open naman. But in the second jar, hindi nakapasok yung ang fly at walang maggots na na-form. Okay? Yung third jar, totally no maggots. And then above, wala din namang fly na nakadapo, wala din namang maggots na na-form. By the way, why do you think would a scientist have this kind of setup? May cloth nga tahob, yung kadidihan ligid, pero cloth ang ginamit. What's the intention? Okay, what's an idea? Volunteer? By the way,
Ma'am, para
okay, this setup is composed not only of one jar, it's represented in the picture. The group of setups were presented by one jar only, one each. Pero damo nga jar ang ginamit. Damo nga open jar, damo nga covered with cloth, damo nga totally sealed jar. Okay, again, there was somebody answering. Who was it?
ma'am, para po amoy hit koan, it nga meat. As magawas laya para dumapo it magot.
Okay, to attract flies, very good. Another thing. Oo, kasi kung wala nga namang amoy, walang dadapo na maggots, So that's one primary reason. And then the other one is to allow oxygen to pass through the meat. Para kung kakailanganin ang oxygen, para maka-generate ng maggot, present ang oxygen but not the fly. But here, totally, gas will not be able to pass through this, and then even the odor, the foul odor of the meat will not be able to be out of the jar para maamoy ng fly. So walang dumadapong fly dito kaya wala niya naaamoy. And then the result, again, yung open jar with flies, with maggots, ito nga parrot worm. Ito pinakabunay nga eventually magiging fly ito niya pag nag-hatch. And then here naman, naaamoy ng flies yung meat. So dumapo sila and then what? Look, yung kanilang maggots nasa labas lang. May mga maggots sa labas, pero wala sa loob. And then dito naman totally no flies, no maggots in and out. Okay, now, so which of these setups prove that meat does not produce maggots?
The third one.
Third one.
Good setup.
How about the second one? How about the second one? Does it not prove also?
Yes, it does because it blocks the maggots.
It
does.
Oo, it does also. Dinhi, ito parang sigurado tayo, kasi may maggot, pero may flies, pero walang maggot sa loob. Instead, yung maggot ay nasa labas. Hindi nakapasok sa loob kasi walang maggot sa loob kasi yung flies nasa labas lang. So he concluded that flies produce the maggots, not the meat. Okay? So another one. That's how scientists prove something that they claim, prove or disprove. It's either their claim is disproved by the result of their experiments or proved or supported by their experiment. So whatever results come out, they always present it to the community. They always present it in all honesty. Scientists do not manipulate data. Scientists do not fake results. No? Kasi nakasalalahit ira experiment, it acknowledged nga importante about life. Not only about life, about the thing that they are investigating on. So kung maghihinguhin in results, in results nga ira inimbento para mas maupay pamatian, para sumari nga successful an ira research, naghahatag rin false information. So ang mangyayari, yung ating mga nababasa sa libro na gawa nila, hindi pala mga totoo. But before some of these investigations are accepted as correct, may pahit mga na-support ng iba pang mga experiments, no? Para ma-prove talaga hiya nga tama hiya. Others, hanggang wala pang nagdi-disprove pero may sapat na evidence, tinatawag mo na silang mga theories, no? But theories can still be changed. So when somebody does an experiment and proves or disproves that theory, mari paitliwaton ang theory, ano? Okay, let's go to another one, but I have no image for this anymore. Ito naman yung ginawa ni John Needham from England, Francesco Redi from Italy, si John Needham naman from England. Needham challenged Redi's findings by conducting an experiment in which he placed a broth or gravy into a bottle. Itong broth, it could be nga itong pinakaladgaran, hin karne or hin mga pagkaon, hin mga utan, hin mga foods, or gravy into a bottle. Heated the bottle to kill anything inside, then sealed it. Again, experiment in Needham, he placed a broth or gravy into a bottle. He heated the bottle to kill anything inside it, like microorganisms and others, then sealed it. Days later, he reported the presence of life in the broth and announced that life had been created from non-life. In actuality, he did not heat it long enough to kill all the microbes. So see, in class, do you notice, pag nagbabasa ka mo yung mga experiment, may sinising mga gaps. May mga actions silang ginawa na nakaligtaan nilang fokusan. Baka it could be something that is a wrong procedure, or may konting mali, na kailangang baguhin. Tawag natin doon ay mga gap. Gintuturita it dinhit mga research para pag conduct tayo ng research, ma-addressan natin yung mga gaps na yon. This is an example of a gap, no? He did not heat it long enough to kill all the microorganisms. Now, in killing microorganisms, you have to follow the standard procedure. If you are using bottles para ipatayin mo ang microorganisms dyan, you have to follow certain procedure. no? You have to follow the standard. Ilang minutes dapat ini-sterilize ang glass. Tapos anong temperature? Diri ka nananalapang pagkakaladgarang kuin or papasuon kuin para mamatay ng microorganisms. You have to follow procedure. No? So ganhin nag-ininiyala siguro hinidam maybe no basis for heating the the bottles diya maaram kulang pangayan an pagpasohan bottle. That's why not all of the microorganisms were killed. No? Okay. Then let's go to Spallanzani's experiment. Lazzaro Spallanzani, another Italian scientist, he reviewed both Reddy and Needham's data and experimental design and concluded that perhaps Needham's heating of the bottle did not kill everything inside. Ito yan. Sometimes we repeat experiments, class. Say for example, gusto mong mag-investigate in your research, say for example, you want to repeat an experiment of somebody and then you want it to submit to me as your requirement. Pwede naman, but you have to modify. You have to modify your experiment. May babaguhin ka. Hanap ka ng butas, hanap ka ng gaps. No? Para fokusan mo adto. Di Spallanzani yun ang ginawa niya. He repeated both. May niya kasi naman ipoprove or disprove. Since he was thinking na yung kay Needham hindi niya ininit yung bottle ng maigi, he constructed his own experiment by placing broth in each of two separate bottles, boiling the broth in both bottles, then sealing one bottle in and leaving the other open. Days later, the unsealed bottle was teeming with small living things that he could observe more clearly with a newly invented microscope. Of course, you can't see microorganisms with your own eyes without the aid of an instrument that extends our perception, like the microscope. The sealed bottle showed no signs of life. This certainly excluded spontaneous generation as a viable theory, except it was noted by scientists of the day that Spallanzani had deprived the closed bottle of air, and it was thought that air was necessary for spontaneous generation. So although his experiment was successful, a strong rebuttal blunted his claims. May nadaman inulpot dedi asyagad ko nga may inulpot nga sa problema. Asya ko nga waray tubo an microorganisms waray pagtubo di dahan sa kay ginsil mo an bottle an siringan iba nga mga experts. So you see, finding answers to questions will help us solve problems in nature and may even help us solve another problem nga nagsasanga-sanga problem. But the problem is another problem na naman. Pag hindi gaanong maayos na kinakandak ang isang investigation, it leads to another problem. No? But well, this is science. The science, we're not contented with just one experiment. We do several experiments. Just follow the certain procedures, follow the standard procedure, and your answer will be answered. No? As long as you report correct, as long as you follow the procedure correctly, and you report the data, you report the results in all honesty, yung mga tanong mo masasagot, pero yung sagot hindi naman minsan yung ini-expect mo, pero sagot pa rin yun sa tanong. So kung anong nagiging resulta, i-report, isusurat. That's what you will do when you conduct an experiment. Okay? Now, balik tayo dito sa inyong setup. Hala, testing nga kita. Testing tayo. For no points ito ha. Say for example, there's one claim that temperature affects the length or the growth of a human body or animal body part, of an animal body part. Again, temperature affects the length or the growth of the length of a human body part or an animal body part. Sabihin natin rabbits. Rabbits. How would you prove or disprove that claim na ang temperature ay nakaka-apekto sa pag-grow or sa length ng body part ng animals? Example, rabbits. How would you design the experiment? Kahit yung design lang, paano mo iti-test yan? Anong design ang gagawin mo? Who will answer? Anyone?
By putting the rabbits
Okay.
in closed spaces with different temperatures.
Okay. You grow rabbits in places with different temperature. It could be a same place, pero yung setup kung saan mo siya i-grow, magkaiba ang temperature. Pwede. Pwede, oo. Actually, this was already conducted. Oo, another idea. Another idea. Okay. So actually, this was already conducted by some scientists because, they observed that there are some animals in the polar region na, say, same type of animal, say rabbits, pero sa polar region, mas mahahaba ang tenga, mas maiikli ang tenga kesa sa maiinit na region, sa tropical regions. No? That's what they observed. And that's why they claimed that temperature affects the growth of the length of some body parts of the animals like the ears. Well, it was proven naman tama, kasi pala the principle there is when an animal is in a hot region or tropical region, they have to release the heat that they have in the body, no? So sa rabbit naman, sa pamamagitan ng tenga, kasi yung tenga ng mga nasa tropical region, well, I can't identify which region na tropical, but this was observed by some experts. Yung palang tenga, they have plenty of blood vessels. May mga damuan ugat. And inside the blood vessels, there's blood, of course, flowing. And together with the blood, aside from the nutrients, from the waste, oxygen, and carbon dioxide, dala-dala din niya ang heat. So, an blood vessels nga nadalagan, blood that runs through the blood vessels in the long ears of the rabbits. Hinga nga din ears na natataghuman ang dugo nga naka din may tali nga pagbabalik nga dihan body, nataghum ang body part. No? So, di naman han polar region or cold regions, maiikli ang tenga daw ng mga rabbits. Okay, again, anything that you think of like mga problems in nature, questions about nature, can be solved by experiments. So, kaya itong lesson natin na class about the scientific method, I will try to guide you on how to come up with an experiment for you to be able to solve problems, but let us start with the very simple ones. Start muna tayo sa simple lang. Ay, nakitahan ka ng mga pang senior high, ay nakitahan mga pang college. Di nakitahan pang classroom na experiment. Eventually, you'll be able to know how to solve problems in a more, yung using the scientific approach, using the standard procedure, using important tools, using skills that scientists need, researchers need. But let's start from the very basic ones muna. Ani kita pagtigdahan. Ang magkuri nga klase in research. That's why in activity 1, Ito yan. Okay, human naman kitahin ni ano nga din nakita, masusumuka mo het nga dikitahan. Do it your way. Okay, activity 1. Okay, siguro others were confused because of this term investigation. So maybe they were conducting an actual investigation. But if you would look at number 2, by the way, do you know what daisies are?
Yes po.
Ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes po, ma'am.
Now, kapag ganito mga experiment, especially kayo na mga students pa lang, maganda yung may mga short lifespan lang muna na tanim ang gagamitin ninyo. Ay kamo gamitin mga saging, lube, puno, ito experiment, kahit mag-ito nila sumuli. So, experimenting, in your experiments use, which is going to test about growth. Pag may growth na involved, pili kayo ng short lifespan. At yung daisy, short ang kanyang lifespan. Ano? Okay. So to avoid confusion, let's go to number 2. You will design an experiment or investigation for the stated problem above. This is the stated problem. Steps that you will perform are ito lang. State the question to be investigated, formulate hypothesis, design the experiment to support your hypothesis, or design an experiment to support your hypothesis. Write it in either bullet or paragraph form, then provide drawings for the setups. Supposedly, investigation kuntain ano. Pero kay investigation, nag-i-start mait din Nahimo ka anahin question, nahimo ka anahin hypothesis, then mahimo ka na magde-design ka na kung mag-aano ka. Parang timbuhat nira, just like what Reddy, what Spallanzani, what Needham did. They designed an experiment first before they conducted they totally tested their experiment. They totally conducted the experiment. Na yan hilaanay it class ha. State the question to be investigated. And the question is already given actually. It says here, can daisies grow in different types of soils? And then another is formulate hypothesis. For the hypothesis, you can have the if and the then hypothesis. Okay. If and then hypothesis. Okay, ihatag ko na lahat yung example ha ni ano. If I grow daisy in, ano ba kaya ngaran? What are the types of soils?
Done.
Oo. If I grow daisy in sand, then, susumpayan mo yan. Anong ini-expect mong mangyayari?
It won't grow.
It won't grow.
Okay. Kung anong gusto nyong i-prove, yun ang inyong sasabihin dyan. Ano? Ang inyong ini-expect na mangyayari. Yung if, nandyan yung independent variable, then naman, nandyan yung dependent variable, yung pangyayari na ini-expect ninyo. Okay, I made an example tahan if then. Although I asked for you to, in the summative test, I asked for you to come up with null hypothesis, o i-disregard nyo na lang muna yan para hindi kayo ma-confuse. Ano? Ito. Yan. If I grow mango seedlings under the red light bulbs, then they will grow faster than the plants growing under the blue light bulbs. Okay? So, yung nasa if natin, yung independent variable, at yung nasa then natin, yung ini-expect nating mangyayari sa then. Yung ini-expect nating mangyayari ay mag-grow or hindi mag-grow, that's what we call the dependent variable. Okay, and how do you measure the growth, class? How do you measure the growth? How do you know that it's
Number of leaves.
number of leaves? That's one.
The height, ma'am.
Another,
Height.
height of the plant or length of the stem. Height of the plant, length of the stem, they're the same. So again, pag nagme-measure kahit grow nga dependent variable, yung specific na i-measure mo dyan is length of the stem or height of the plant, or you may also include number of leaves. Others even include the color of the leaves, quality na hiya. So the darker the color, the more chlorophyll there is. Of course, pag maraming chlorophyll, mas madaming nagka-catch ng energy, light energy from the sun. Pag maraming energy nakaka-catch from the light, is from the sun, then maraming pagkaing magagawa ang isang plant. Okay? Mas healthy ang plant. So ito yung hypothesis dili class, if and then anay niyo. Ano? Na? Pati sa inyong number 2. At saka na tayo magdi-discuss ng null hypothesis and the alternative hypothesis. Pagpahimuon ko na kamuhin research proposal, babalik tayo dun sa hypothesis, but we'll have the hypothesis in which the null and the alternative hypothesis are used. Diri na laan if and then ng mga hypothesis. Okay, you can also learn more about the if and then hypothesis in some sources from the internet. Ano nga to, Google, magbasa pa kayo. And then design the experiment to support your hypothesis. May ako di diha iyo, hit you design class, may ako di gin-attach, gin-append. You can design it this way. Dini nga define purpose. Yan din example ha, kanang freezing water. Consider how the scientific method applies in this simple experiment with freezing water under 2 different conditions. Okay, here's the purpose. I want to know if water freezes faster on its own or with sugar added to it. Ito yung pinaka-problem niya. Would water freeze faster if sugar would be added to it? Or again, state niya this way. I want to know if water freezes faster on its own or with sugar added to it. Ang atong mga examples, answerable naman ang atong question in yes or no. Pwede yes or no. If I add sugar into water, would it freeze faster? Yes or no. Pwede sugahiton nga iyo pag-statehan purpose, pag-statehan problem. And then construct hypothesis. Disregard this null hypothesis. Mag-if and then kayo han hypothesis. Okay? It's up to you kung ang negative and you indicate han iyo if and then kunta if I add this thing, this water will not freeze faster. Then this water will not freeze fast. Okay? At saka ko na-explain yung null and alternative hypothesis. Okay. Then, ito yung hanggang dito lang itong example ko, class kompleto hiya, pag-describe ko noon. Pero han iyo experiment 1, and do it your way. Ini hanggang dito lang kayo, magde-design lang ng experiment. No conclusions, no results needed. Iyo la iglilista mag-aano ka to prove or disprove this one. I mean to support this question or to answer this question. Okay? And then again, look at the example that I gave here. Look. Number 3. Balikan kita. Number 1, yung question or purpose or yung problem. Number 2, yung guess. Meaning, yung iyong guess, yung inyong iniisip na sagot sa tanong, but with basis yan. Gawin natin if and then ha? If and then hypothesis, ayaw ka mo anay pakalisang hitya adi. Okay. And then, next to do, after you formulate hypothesis, is you test if your hypothesis is correct. Itawag tadamay na iya is experimentation. Asya na in it na prove or disprove. Hit iyo claim. Kung may niyo claim, no? Anhiin niyo kukuha it mga answers hit nga iyo question by way of experiment or testing of your hypothesis. And then What is this data collection or you collect data? Habang nag-experiment ka, kung natubo na ang tanom, mo hiya, o kung anong nangyayari sa tanim, ano mo hiya, kung tanom ito binobserbaran. I-record, measure every day or every other day or every third day, measure. Okay? Pag nagme-measure ka, kinukuha mo niya height or an iya length, you are already collecting data. Yung data, yung measurement, yun yung data. Okay? So, asyat im kukulawat im data, hinataas nga ang tanom. Or, uy, waray hataas ang tanom, kundi rin nahataas ang tanom. Ano? So, it's through the data that you can tell if your hypothesis is right or wrong. That's why you have to be very careful in collecting data. Ayaw la dadali-dali, abangin unin na iyo himuon nga inch. Iyo la i-inch. Pwede ba ang inches, class? Can you use your body parts that for in measuring things?
No.
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 It's a big no-no. Tapos unay na nag-measure ka, ikaw alay, akit ma-measure yan. Tapos buwas, buro-buwas, nunoy, or kuya, measure yan na hala, kung hinataas na mas mataas 8 inches na kuya, mas alaba kay mas dako na kuya. Even the English system of measurement, hindi po pwede. Okay? Yung foot, yung inch, hindi din yun pwede. Use the metric system of measurement. Okay, anything that you collect in your measurement, that's what we call data. So do not fabricate them or else sasabog ang imo resultahan imo data. Hindi reliable ang iyong measurement kasi hindi mo ibinigay ang tamang measurement. Nanalapang si rin pa. No? Okay, in research, bawal talapang. Okay? So you can have, for this, you can have this in bullet form. Pwede ka mo mag-bullet. Ayan. Okay. Pwede namang paragraph form. Pwede mag-paragraph form. No? Take note, we are doing this in the most simple way. Ay talaan na himo ang complicated, ha? Yung parang experiment lang nung grade 5 tayo, grade 6. Okay. Nakukuha niyo, nakarigsigan. Do not make it complicated, ha, your design. And then provide illustrations. Provide illustrations for your setup, just like this one. Like this, ano? And then you label them. Ito yung mga experiment. O for example, if yadi nga Daisy, how do you picture your kuan? How do you picture your, pasensya na ha, kay, huwag ka mo nalilinop na. Microsoft Word lang ginamit yan. So can you picture now how your setup would look like? Take note, you are going to use different types of soil. Kaya nasing mandidi, can daisies grow in different types of soils? So you will design an experiment. You have to describe the materials that you are going to use. And also if, I think it's better if you describe the size, the kind of materials that you are going to use so that I will know if you are controlling the variables that are not needed in the investigation. Well, needed good and variables, pero what I mean is, hindi silang pinag-aaralan natin, so dapat they must be kept constant. Ginhatag ko tayo ng mga examples sa una. Hala, sige nga, anong pwedeng natin gawing constant for this kind of experiment? Are we going to keep constant the type of soil for this experiment?
No.
Yes.
No.
Of course.
No.
No.
Yes, very good. Ito yung pinag-aaralan natin. Kaya different types of soil. So, dapat mag-iba-iba nga soil. So, give me 2 examples ulit na igagawin natin constant for this type of experiment.
Temperature.
Temperature.
Kind of plant.
Type of daisy or the variety of daisy. O may dapat iba-ibang klase ng daisy, di ba?
Type of water po.
What type of water used in watering the daisy? O, yun. And many more. Kailangan makita ko di dahil iyo description, ha? Nga, mas rin kunta. Daisy seedlings will be placed in plastic pots with the same size or same type of plastic pots with the same size. Para makikita ko nga ginahatag niyo ang mga control variables. Okay? Can you state it that way? Pwede niyo may state so kahit ka
Yes po.
Yes.
Okay, sige.
Yes.
Again, you are not going to conduct an investigation, though it says here investigate, but you are not going to finish the investigation. Mag-i-start lang ka mo, didihin nga tutulo. State the question, formulate the hypothesis, design the experiment. Okay? Then, let's go to activity 2. In a class, you are going to do this na. Okay? Mag-i-investigate na talaga kayo. Kasi again, we are doing it step by step. Gradually, from simple, ini-simple lang, design laanay. Tapos ini naman, mag-conduct na kamo in experiment. Mag-i-experiment na, magti-testing ng hypothesis. When you say nag-i-experiment, you are testing your hypothesis na. Mali ang spelling. Okay. Unboiled water. Okay. Koray kaliwat. I don't know what's wrong. Sige. Follow the procedure that we have there. But disposable cups, if none, then you can think of any alternative that you have at home. Just make sure that they are also of the same type. Say you don't have the same type of disposable cups and you just cut a PET bottle, it must be of the same size and same type of bottle. Okay? And then for the nail, should the nail be the same in all setups? Raisang? Dapat ba papreho ang raisang?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes po.
Ito control ang size. Pero, mga rusted here. And may mga rust. Pwede man, say for example, if you can't find any any rusty nail at home, you can ask your classmate for it and then you can pair with your classmate. You can design an experiment kamo nga duha and then no need of going to your classmate's house. Pwede met mag-communicate kamo through phone or through messenger. And then habang nag-i-experiment kamo, pwede man kamo mag live video, di ba? Messenger. Or unless may available da iyo balay nga rusty nga mga nail, pwede. Pero maupay kunta nga pareho ang level na han ira-rust. Dire kay ano sa pagkape poprak na, ano sa manipis pa ang rust. Meaning, nakadahin iya sa rudlan, nga gintain na pero papreho hera didahan nakit aniyo din sa nga sarudlan, or if there is also available in some hardware hera mga luma na nga mga stock, if there's available then okay. Pero yung isa din kung meron sa classmate mo kayo wala, paki-share na la ka mo hit pagbulig ka mo pag-investigate. You may have the same setup design, decide on how you are going to test your hypothesis. Magtulong kayo sa paggawa nito na activity 2. Ayaw naman kamo ipanggabot hitraysang, nakalimutan kong lagyan dito ng mga safety precautions. Diri kamo magrarabot hinraysang para lang makaturoyhin tae. Kung walang available dyan, tanong ang mga classmates nyo, then share kayo ng classmates nyo, design kayo ng activity, share kayo sa activity number 2, or manghingin kayo sa kanila ng nails na may rust. Okay? This is a very simple investigation. Write each step ulit. Record every observation. You may record your observation in tabular form. You may have it first in paragraph, but better if you present it in table. Okay, ano ba how are we going to measure sa alin ang faster mag-rust? So what data are we going to collect? Anyone? Mag-melt pala yung rust, hindi mag-rust, mag-melt yung rust.
Ang time kung kakano nag-melt ang rust.
Time, okay. Ang time. Kung kailan, kung an iya water ay nag-brown na or nag-yellow or nag-peel off, nagtatarag na an iya mga rust. Ano? Uurasan mo. Okay? Or design. Kayong mag-isip. Kung ako ang mag-answer yan, kung ako ang magdidiktaha iyo, ako na mag-answer kung iyo uunan on. Okay, kayo ang mag-iisip on how you are going to gather data. Okay? Do not worry much kung others kasi are worrying na. Diba, ma'am, diri akit ya di makaka-answer. Sige la, you have to read, you have to read some articles, to read some samples of experiments. It's through reading also that your ideas become wider when it comes to investigating something. No? Hindi pa tayo gaanong strict dito kasi nag-i-start pala kamuhit iyo pag-investigate using a simple design using the scientific method. So wag mo nang mag-alala. Kahumanhin class, after this, i-evaluate ta ito yung answer. We'll have an online class again and then we'll try to know if you designed this experiment correctly. Ano? And then after that, this one. This one will really take time. Activity 3. Because you are going to grow plant, but it's mongo seeds that you will grow. Okay? Now, the question is, does the temperature affect the germination rate of seeds sowed in greenhouse? Okay. So it's about germination. When you say germination, yung pagtubo ng tanim mula sa seeds. Okay? Ano yung pagsarudot, tikang hanlis. So ang kakailanganin nyo, not seedlings. When you say seedlings, these are baby plants. But mongo seeds ang kakailanganin ninyo. No? Okay. Here's the direction. You will follow the DIY mini greenhouse first. Okay, ito yon. DIY, yung do-it-yourself lang. Kasi you can afford to make a greenhouse pa. No, ito lang muna yung mini greenhouse using recyclable materials. Okay, so materials you need. No. I'm not done with the procedure yet or the instruction. For your actual experiment, modify the procedure to conform with both your intended design of the experiment and the scientific method guidelines. Meaning, kung ito ang design ng greenhouse, imo-modify it niyo based it inaaro it iyo experiment. Okay, it you experiment will test. You will try to determine kung ang temperature ba makaka-affect sa germination rate of seeds. So anong gagawin mo? Hiton greenhouse. Duduhait imo set up Duduhait imo set up, or it could be more than that. Okay? With varying what? Anong i-vary ninyo dito? Ang mga setup, ano ni i-vary? Hala? For this kind of experiment? Anyone? What is it? What variable is it? Or what factor is it that you are going to study? It yan yung problem?
Germination seedlings.
Temperature.
Seed. Germination of seed.
Ano yung independent variable natin dito?
Temperature.
Temperature, very good.
Temperature.
Alex. Okay, temperature. Pinag-aaralan natin ang epekto ng temperature sa germination rate. What is our dependent variable here?
Mungo seedling.
Can they add something to that?
Germination rate.
Germination
The germination rate
rate
of
of
mungo
seedling.
seedling.
Germination rate ang pinag-aaralan natin. Therefore, you are going to record pera nag-germinate. Pera nag-germinate ano you experiment and also the rate of the germination. Okay? Ngayon, kayo ang mag-isip, how are you going to collect data and what data are you going to collect? Kayo ang mag-isip anong i-collect na data, ha? Take note, liso, iyo gagamiton, waray pa na tubo. Ang liso dapat han seeds, tikang lahin usala nga source. Say for example, bumili kayo sa isang tindahan. Kay excuse me. Okay, tawag kaya nag-online class. LBC? Oo. O, di nga pakipirman lang. Panginano bang iberi amon? Ante kang itada US. Oo. Ha? Tikang diin? Paki-receive nila, pakibasa. Pipira ka box ko yan. Amit nga rin, aguryo. Siya na, paki-receive nila ko paki-receive Christian. Sige, okay. Okay, sorry. Shit, ninalabungin online class. Sorry la class. Okay, gagawin nyo, read more on how to measure this one, the germination rate. What is it? What data are you going to collect? What data you're going to collect? Okay, i-search nyo yan, ha? And then, of course, the other variable to measure, to study is the temperature. This is our independent variable. Okay. And then, same procedure. By the way, here's the procedure for the mini greenhouse. Cut a water bottle in half, saving the bottom half. Cut away 1 cup from a paper egg carton and fill with soil. Yung paper egg carton, yung tray, hiton ka ng egg, then lalagyan daw ng soil. Tuck a seed or a seedling in a cup or in the cup and write the name of the seed on the egg cup or tuck in a little marker. Place the cup on a small dish or small plate. Lightly water the soil and cover with the bottom half of the water bottle, creating a mini greenhouse. So yun yung inyong mini greenhouse. Diri seedling itsiring, or tanggalatain. Okay. Seed, ito yung gagamitan, ha? Ini naman, this pot will be replaced with paper egg carton. Okay? Take note, when you present to me your output, I'm going to check if you have controlled the other variables that must be kept constant. Okay? Then, if any of the materials is not found in your home, then look for alternatives. Basta bantay lang ulit sa mga constant variables. Kung may papalitan, yung constant dapat laging constant in all setups. Okay, steps in conducting the experiment, form the question. It could be answerable by yes or no. It could be purpose also. And then make a hypothesis. If and then again, test your hypothesis. And then testing hypothesis is doing the experiment na, ha? And that's also collecting data. State in details the procedure that you will do for the investigation or experimentation. Draw and label the setup. Record and present your observation in a table. Make a conclusion. Then, if you have a camera on your mobile phone, take a picture of your completed experimental setup. But this is optional because there are some who do not have a camera at home. And then attach the picture and the testing of the hypothesis part of your paper, write a caption. Okay? Proof kung ta iton hiyahan iyo experiment. Again, kung bibili ng munggo seeds, yung pinagbilhan mo, ano sa kaputos, lahat ng seeds dyan mo kunin. Okay? Diri kay, pinalit ka didikan manukulas, sa kaputos nga munggos, and then, ang iba naman, dididaman kan manakulasa, pero kan manukulas, ang iya munggos, isa katuig na haiya, kan manakulasa, tulo pala kabulan. Okay? So, dapat same source ang iyo pinalitan. Actually, pwede naman, in case naman, halo-halo, may buti lang yung nakuha, di na sa nga tindahan, and then say pirala kaliso, which is impossible naman, and then yung iba dun mo kinuha sa ibang tindahan, pwede i-distribute mo hira equally, didihan control and experimental setup. And kinuha mo ang tindahan, and distribute equally ang control and experimental. Ang kinuha mo dito kabilang tindahan, distribute equally also, both in the experimental and in the control setup. Okay. And then in case you want to encode it, here's the format. Output may be handwritten or printed. For printed copies, here's the format. Font size is 11. Font style Times New Roman. Spacing is double. Paragraph alignment is left. Main heading, center, capitalize each word, and then bold-faced. Subheading, left alignment, bold-faced. Margin 1 inch all sides. Okay, short band paper, then if none, okay, long, okay ang A4. And then of course, pag written, ay nakamo pa kaya, may dapin na kaya nakan una. Written. Ma'am, kung written, ano it font size, at kung binulpen, kung handwritten ko, no, ano it font size, may font size ba it handwritten? Ang hirap pa yan nun. Magsisinubad kahit size it ka na in-encode. Kung Times New Roman ka, handwritten, hindi. Freestyle pagka handwritten. Pagka encoded, ito yung format para masanay na kayo. This is the format that we will be using when you submit to me your research proposal. Okay? Di kita makatit research proposal, hindi niyo makabisado itong pag-imot experiment. Titingnan ko muna yung results ng inyong mga design. When you submit to me your output of the scientific method, and pag marami pang hindi nakakakuha, we'll have another set of experiment until you get it correctly. Especially also in presenting the data in table or in graph, pag-aaralan din natin. Pero ngayon, ito lang muna kung anong kaya muna ninyong ibigay prior to our discussion on how data are going to be presented. Yung gagamitin nyo lang muna yung natututunan yung paggawa ng pag-present ng data in a table. No? Kung may advanced na data, kaya na ni-run graph, okay. Or if you can't present it in the table, hindi pa kaya ninyong ilagay sa table ang inyong resulta, i-paragraph ninyo. Ano na hinabuhan o sa nga setup? Tinubo ba na may nag-germinate ba? Han ikaduha nga setup, han ikatulong nga setup, i-describe in words, in paragraph. Kung hindi nyo pa kayang mag-table. Again, hinay-hinay tayo. No? Nga di naman kita, questions about the scientific method. Before I end the class, let us, mag-a-answer sana kita han iyo, what's this? Variables. Han iyo variables ng assignment. Pero since yung iba hindi pa nag-answer, wag muna. But I already checked your assignment sa Google Classroom. Naibalik ko na yung iba. Just see for the comment for some corrections sa may mga maling sagot. Okay? Questions? About this one, about the rust. If there's no nail, but there's a metal at home, na, say for example, wire, yung mga simple lang nga wire, mga gudte, pwede nyo nang gamitin nyo yung mga rusty na mga wire. But, be careful in handling them. Pag nahabol kasi ka mo, bangin may ada. Bang ka mo magkaano ba tawag ito? Matetano, ano. So, you have to put on gloves in doing the experiment, or you have to be very careful in handling those things. Because when they cut your skin, open it your skin, ngadtuhit iyo dugo, o bangka mo matetano, so delikado. Okay? Take extra precautions in handling those rusty materials. Kung may gloves, mag-gloves ka mo. No? Okay. Questions, class? No questions? Bas mag-snack na ka mo. Ano rin pa mag-snack? Sige, yung nainiyang
Ano po itong deadline hit nga mga activities?
Okay, ito yung, okay, thank you for asking. May mga nagtanong na din kasi niyan, ano, yung last day for quarter 1, it's November 12. Okay? Kalimutan ko lang yung exact date ng collection of outputs. So November 12, it falls on a Friday. Ito November 12, last day yan. So after or 1 week after the last collection, or 1 week after the last day of quarter 1, ano ba tawag itong portfolio day? Nag-represent na nahatag na kami itong hit cards. So meaning, before mag-ika-12, dapat nakasubmit na kamutanan iyo output. Ano? Kaya? It's, today is October 25. So you have mga 2 weeks pa para makumpleto. Para, 1, 2, okay, 2 weeks. Kaya ba ang 2 weeks? Or gawin nyo, importante kasi ako ng scientific method class, yung module about science processes, that's the last module that you will have, yung sa science processes or learning activity sheets, that's the last for quarter 1. Okay? Basahin nyo na lang yan, pag-aralan, kahit hulin nyo nang isubmit yan. Ang importante haakon ang scientific method so that in case konti pa lang ang nakakakuha sa pag-investigate using the scientific method, we'll be designing more. We'll be designing more of say more experiments using the scientific method. Pero ihahatag ko na like module. For example, quarter 2 na, pero may iba nga na behind, di pagod nakakakuha at scientific method, pero may iba okay na, nakakaintindi, nakakakuha na hira. May mga modules naman ako na ibibigay din, mag-advance na lang kamo ang mga nakakaintindi na ang scientific method and pag-conduct an experiment using the scientific method. Pwede mag-advance. Again, what's important to me now is your scientific method outputs. You know, this is our main, this is the main concept that you should learn on how to design an experiment, how to conduct an experiment. Research kasi tayo. Yung science processes na yan ay ginhatag, gin-distribute yan, kakailanganin nyo yung mga skills doon. But many of you, alam ko, kabisado na, may mga skills na doon. May mga skills na kayo sa mga skills that are stated in the last or in the learning activity sheets. Kumbaga, pag-improve la hiya, itaad to nga mga last na kanan processes skills. Again, what's important to me are the outputs for the scientific method. Okay. Kung may mga questions in the instruction, then don't hesitate to ask me. Ayaw la ka mo please. Ayaw ka mo papakiana kung halarom na nga gabi, kay ikaraturugit niyo. Although, ma'am, nagmamatapait, pero ikaw mo dapat nakaturog na kamuhit. Kung bawal na it ka mo mag-message. Ano na lang niyo, isave niyo kanan buhat ito yung message. Okay? Kasi sometimes, I sometimes post classwork at midnight or dawn. Kakaniring na may iba, mismo ito nga pag-send ko, answera na diri. May da iba nagmamala, may kuigin post, kailan ba yon? Post ko, larong nga gabi, sus nagmamata pa, may nag-message hak, nagpakiana. Di tracing nga, naging post ko ito larong nga gabi, abrihan na niyo. Kanang kinabuwasan, pinopost ko lahiyahin advance. No?
Ma'am, excuse me po. Takainin kinabukasan may the online class.
What do you mean? It's about your submission?
Nag-overlap na po yung schedule sa itang pag-answer hit module. Kay
Okay. When it comes to submission, deadline, ano itong submission? Pagka face-to-face, strict punta kita hiton, ano? Pero, online, man kita, because of the situation that we are in, there are some instances or situations that we can't control, that's beyond our control, like submission buwas, pero yun din nagdudrungan, nauurhin naman hiuno, kung taan research na, it's okay, pero wag naman gaanong late. Ano? Okay?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
Aansaran po siya ring activity to.
Which one?
And which will make melt rust faster.
Oh, ikakandak it niyo. Then you have to tell me kung hindi maka-find anywhere. Like for example, waray ang classmate, waray na iyo balay, then you have to message me or mag-post kaya kin alternative one, ano? Dire ang kanan may rust. So okay la iyo.
Excuse me, ma'am. So, pwede lang na po i-delay it nga mga LAS? Tapos, uunahon lang na pag-intindihon and nga activities?
Scientific method, yes. Very important.
Ma'am, how about an activity 3? Pwede po diri Mongo seeds or iba na lang.
So what seeds are you going to use?
Kung ano po it available.
But don't use seeds that take time to grow, huh? Take note, you have 2 weeks left. Although, nahatag akin, okay na lang ako nalilate, pero during the portfolio day, you won't be able to receive a complete grade. Kasi may pa late na yung isarabmit. But it won't affect your grade. It won't affect your grade. Kung face-to-face, nakaka-affect it grade it pag submitin late, I really deduct points to those outputs that are submitted late. But again, with the kind of situation that we are in, mas kami yan na kumbaga itang pangunawa, pero wag nyo namang abusuhin nga. Iba, nasiri nga hindi kayahan time, pero 8 hours a day ada social media. No? Although di aksayod hiton, pero ay nako, I have kids at home also. That's why I know. Well, maybe yung nakikita ko sa mga anak ko, hindi naman ganun din siguro sa iba sa inyo. So again, better if you focus muna nga dahan pag-answer ng scientific method. And then, pwede niyo basalaahan last, science processes skills. Bisait niyo niya na answeran after niyo basahin niyo muna doon. Para magkaroon ka ng idea and different skills. Science processes skills. Yes. Questions?
Ma'am,
Yes.
Ma'am, an activity 2 ngan activity 3, 2 weeks la po time paghimo.
Kaya ba? Yung seeds kasi, pagka itong seedlings, di ba pag binasa mo ngayon, nasa isang moist plate siya, kinabukasan may danahit nasa rodot, di ba? Overnight may ada na. Tama ba?
Yes, ma'am.
Oo. Na-observe it niyo, di ba? Pag mag-uutan ka mo itmunggo, iba kasi before nag-uutan hitmunggo, binababadaanay pagpahumok para di malako hagas pag inluluto na. Pero pag napapabayaan, kinabukasan, nagkakaguwa na didaan ang mga primary nga parts sa tanom. Nagtitikang naan pag germinate niya. Kaya nga we're using munggo seeds para mas mabilis. Kaya naman
Ma'am,
yung last napakadaming activities doon. So it will consume your time. So kaya nga pinapabasa ko lang kayo para magkaroon kayo ng idea about the different processes, skills, and then focus on the scientific method activities. I'm open for some questions anytime, but again, I just can't promise you that I can answer you right away because I'm sometimes busy too. Kundi man tired naman na himang gabi, na-rest anay kadali. But don't hesitate to ask questions, okay?
ma'am,
Yes.
about the daisies po.
About the?
Daisies.
Yes.
Gagawin po ba siya or?
I'm sorry?
Gagawin po ba siya?
Hindi. Yung design, yung magde-design lang, procedure kung anong gagawin. Ma-state lang man question, ay investigate. Actually, ito na yung question. Can daisies grow in different types of soils? Ayan ang question, given na. And then hypothesis nyo naman, if and then, or you may not have the if and then, you may just try to have the possible answer to the question. You may state it that way, or again, the if and then design. When we say design, nagplaplano ka la, diri ka pa magkakandak. Don't be confused with the first statement here that says, investigate this question. Okay? Ginsaring din ang investigate kasi yung investigation, nag-i-start yan sa ito, state the question, thus formulate hypothesis, and then design. The design on how you are going to test your hypothesis. So, diri ka mo magtatanong. Nakuha.
Yes po.
Yes, ma'am.
Diri magtatanong, paano la ininiyo answeran ini nga question? Paano niyo answeran na question? It iyo naman hiton response, it yan pag-answer question is by way of stating the question muna, formulating hypothesis, and then designing an experiment. Magde-design an experiment that will help solve this question. Design la. Diri ka mo magka-conduct an experiment. Okay? Diri na siri nga perform an experiment. Diri na siri nga conduct an experiment. Anong sabi?
Design.
Anong sabi? Design lang. Magde-design lang kita. Okay? Nakuha, children? Tapos iti mo namang ginahunaan nga design, yung iniisip mong design sa mga setup, idodraw mo. Okay? Provide drawings for the setups with labels. Yung iniisip mong design, yung mga setup, para yung bait yadi nga kan para hadi nga kan ito. Do not draw the results because you will not be conducting an investigation. You will not be conducting an experiment. Okay? Ini ang mga resulta na diri ka mo maabot hit drawing ha may da na mga resulta. An iyo design kung uunan uniyo para lahat adi. No? Ito yung gagawin kong design with caption, with label. Okay. Again, do not conduct the experiment for activity 1. Okay, some more questions. Anything more? Bahit na hingangaturog nit iba. Sige, picture nga how kita. Waray na questions. Picture ulit tayo. Then paki-on ang inyong mga camera para makita ang mga beauty natin. Okay. Ayan. Anay, kay damo ka ano, damo ka plate baga. Again, don't hesitate to ask questions. Just send me a message. And then read more about the scientific method. Look for some examples. And as you read these examples, you will be able to know more on how the scientific method is conducted. Okay? Okay, that is all for now. Sinong nag-message? Ano ha? Okay. Sige. Announce ko na lang ulit if we're going to have another synchronous online class. Okay. So, since there are no more questions, end na natin ang ating class. Okay, goodbye, class.
Goodbye, ma'am.
Goodbye po.
Hi, ma'am.
Bye-bye.
Oh, boy, what the hell?
Drag out. Oh, di pa mga yan.
Pwede na mag-leave.
Goodbye, ma'am.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye, ma'am.
Bye.
Salamat
Good
po.
go.
Bye. Ano, Earl? Hi, Earl.
Snack na ka mo.
Hello, Earl.
Hello.
Mobile Legends na.
Ay, mas all mag-travel.
ML,
Hello,
ML.
Earl.
Tara, ML.